researchers than the CDC. Yeah, may not be saying much. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. I want to tell you guys about Why Refi. By the way, I'm going to a foreign country that will take me about 14 hours to get there. Any guesses where you think I might be going? I'm going to tweet that out. People are going to lose their mind. I'm going to a foreign country. It'll take me about 14 hours to fly. I wonder where I'm going to go. Go to yrefi.com. That is yrefy.com. You can finally take control of your student loan situation, a plan that works for your monthly budget. Go to yrefi.com. Let's face it, if you have distress or defaulted private student loans, you guys can check it out right now at yrefi.com. That's yrefi.com. Do you have a co-borrower? YRefi can get them released from the loan. You can give mom or dad a break. You can skip a payment every 6 months without up to 12 times that penalty. Just call 888-YREFI34. Go to yrefi.com. That is yrefy.com. May not be available in all 50 states. That's yrefi.com. When the payment on your distressed or defaulted private student loan is so big that you can't ever get ahead, go to yrefi.com. That is yrefy.com. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. That's the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. Stay right there. Welcome back, everybody. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast here at the Bitcoin.com studio. Julio, tell people where they can find your work and how they can follow your important coverage here.
So they can find most of my stuff at Blaze Media, at theblaze.com. For social, at Julio Rosas, Julio_Rosas11 on X. And there's also my Substack, mostly peaceful.media.
What other stories are you focused on or covering currently, Julio?
Well, I got to say, it's just been the far left insurrection that's been happening across the country, namely dealing with immigration and the immigration crackdown. I would say that I also covered the surge of National Guardsmen into D.C., and I lived in that area for some time, and I can tell you that, especially after 2020, like a lot of other places, D.C. was going downhill. And again, a lot of it was purposeful, by design, by policy. And it was noticeably safer. It was noticeably better after that surge. So that's why with Chicago right now, I think President Trump can replicate some of that success here.
The problems that we are facing in America are easily solved with political will. Immigration, crime, drug trafficking. But we have an anti-civilizational, I don't even think it's a third, I think it's probably a fourth of the country, that simply refuse to do the obvious. Because their foundational ideology is that our civilization is inherently bad. They look at a civilization as an oppressive force. Do you see that kind of energy in your on-the-street reporting, Julio?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that again, that's the whole reason why they believe that their tactics are necessary to make this change in their eyes, to remake the United States as it is right now, because it's so evil in its current form that we can't vote our way out of it. We can't do the normal political, changes with laws and stuff. We have to take more radical steps just because we have this quote unquote history of just pure evil. And of course that's not true at all, but you have to buy into that in order to justify some of these more radical things. And then of course, unfortunately, like with the trans shooter in Minneapolis just recently, that they view that in terms of preventing men and women's sports, preventing men and women's bathrooms. They view that as a genocide. So that's why we've seen, unfortunately, these attacks on the most vulnerable in our society, because, well, we just need to do that so that they finally listen and cave to our demands.
Well, and Julio, I want to just zero in on this. We did not cover this very much. Do you know that, and I sent this story earlier to our team, the media is apologizing for misgendering the shooter. NBC issues a correction for misgendering the Minnesota trans Catholic school shooter. So they're worried about the feelings and the sensitivity of a mass murdering maniac. That's where their priorities are. Quote, a previous version of this article used the wrong pronoun for the shooter. She used female pronouns. So understand the sickness that you must have in your life to now police the pronouns of a mass murderer who killed kids at Catholic Mass. And that goes to show the moral darkness that has infected not just the American left, but the American media. We should intentionally use the correct pronouns, but even so, you should intentionally do everything you can to not remember the memory of a mass shooting maniac in any sort of glorified or deified way. You should not try to sanctify or show respect to a mass murdering transgender individual. Julio, are you worried about the rise in transgender terrorism in this country?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people want to use a statistic where we'll look at all these other mass shooters through history where they're straight white males. But outside of the fact that this is now a more recent trend, because obviously this problem has been growing within the past 10 years. And so that's why the data is a little bit off when it comes to that. But also there's been multiple other transgender would-be shooters that thankfully were stopped before they were able to carry out their attacks. There was a case, I believe it was last year in the Midwest, where it was a very similar thing, a similar case where this transgender individual wanted to carry out attacks on a school and churches. That was on their target list. So it builds into, again, this is what I'm saying, where because the United States is finally headed in the right direction on a number of issues, the activists and the people that believe all this, they feel like their backs are against the wall, and that makes people very, very dangerous. That's just true of any ideology, true of any movement. So, hopefully we learn the correct lessons from this, where we actually view this issue, in it how it's actually meant to be, where it's like, no, you're not a gender that you're not actually, that you're not actually are, right? You are,
Correct.
Boys are boys, girls are girls.
I just want to repeat it.
Yeah.
We got to go. But every time you see NBC, I want you to remember, everybody in the audience, NBC apologized that they used the wrong gender of a mass murdering maniac. Julio, great work. Julio Rosas. We need a salary cap in baseball, a fun segment after the break.